Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. So wonderful to have you with us here today, Vanessa. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for being so willing to share your story, which is just a little bit less than a miracle when you think about it. So when you first came to the Rose, what, 2016, 2017? 2016.
It was 16,
yeah.
yes.
Life was very different for you then. Mm-hmm. So would you tell us about what was going on with you at that time?
At that time, I had a very struggled lifestyle. I was going through domestic violence at that time, and I had a toddler. Well, he was 1 years old. So that was the beginning of, meeting the Rose. It was a lot was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had already left the house, right?
When
you were in the process.
Right. I had, I did leave, but before I left, I have noticed when my son was a baby at the time, I noticed, because he was breastfeeding as well. And it was 2015, I had noticed a lump in my left breast. And my doctors, we're going through fertility stuff, so they were able to look at it, do an ultrasound, and identify it as milk ducts. And then he had turned 1, so I had pretty much just finished breastfeeding him and just stopped that. And then 2016, around May-ish, like the summer, I noticed I had a pinch, like a strong pain, short pain in my right breast. And immediately I checked it, and it was like a little bitty lump. And so me and my partner at the time, we were able to get another ultrasound. No results. And this was in the medical center. We were going to UT at the time, so it kept growing, and we went back. I don't recall if they ever did a mammogram, but I know I've had at least, because I had to get another opinion from another facility, another ultrasound at another facility. I can't remember the name because my partner set up at the time. So no results. So I had at least 3 tests done before we even identified.
Oh my goodness.
And by the time I got to the Rose, I had left that relationship. I say about, it was September of 2016. So the same year we were still, I left that relationship, and then I ended up in a domestic violence shelter after living with family for a month. And they had, we had a long conversation about my needs and what I was going through. And the last thing I mentioned to them was I need to see a doctor. That was the last thing I mentioned before we, because everything else was about getting shelter and getting a place to stay. I didn't really think about that they had this big lump in my right breast. By the time I was able to identify what it was really big, like a golf ball. And it was a lot. And so they said, we had someone before here, because I didn't have insurance. And they said, we had someone here who had cancer. Cancer it came to mind the first time, but not exactly. It was the last thing on my mind.
Right.
So I went to the Rose, no insurance, and that's how, I was able to identify what was wrong. But I think it took 2 visits because I had to do a biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I believe they did a mammogram. I think they did the mammogram. No one else wanted to do it because I was the age of 29,
Oh, that's young.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and mammograms are not usually done on younger women until you really think there's something going on. So,
Yeah, yeah. So so that's how that got started. But I had, even when Chris came to me and told me in the second visit that it was cancer, I didn't have time at that time to process it.
well, you had a few things going on
Yeah,
now. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And I didn't know how extreme it was. I think she said it was a stage, almost stage 4. That's just what I remember. I'm not really sure, but that's what I remember. And it didn't really register right away until treatment started. It took a long time to get treatment done. So as I'm waiting to find a doctor, it just kept growing. For some reason, it felt like it became aggressive once we identified it. I started to feel different than I did when I would just rip and run, and I'm trying to handle all my business and get everything done and get shelter. That was the only thing I cared about, because I was in a shelter
Course. Yeah.
and I needed a place for my kids. And all of a sudden, I just didn't feel like I could keep doing that. I had to stop. I had to slow down, and it just kind
That
of
is so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's as though your body said, "Okay, now we've got to take care of Vanessa.
Yeah.
You've got the kids somewhere, and you've got you somewhere, and you're out of a bad situation, and now pay attention here. We're going to have to do something different."
different. Yeah.
That is very interesting, Vanessa. I've never heard anyone quite describe it like that.
Yeah. I was, to me, I was young, and
You were, yeah.
I'm used to taking care of things myself.
Right.
Even when I had my partner, it was just not. I was always in front of everything.
Right.
I like to make decisions and make choices. I like to get things done, and for some reason, even with the cancer diagnosis, I still felt like I needed to get something done, even with that, because I wanted to wait, but then it was like it didn't make sense to do that. It didn't make sense, because I was in a space where I had all of these access to things that I had a hard time getting before.
Right.
Doctors. I was able to get insurance. It was little things like that was coming to me. I was able to get protection. It was a lot of things that I needed that I couldn't get by myself. So I had to surrender.
Oh,
And
tough word to
yeah.
for an independent woman who's
Yes.
been carrying it so long.
Yeah, it was different. It was a different space for me, and I felt a way because I had just left a bad situation. I feel like I got into another situation, and a lot of times we fault ourselves. It's like what did I do?
Oh, yes.
To get here. I was here. I felt like I was responsible for that, and now I'm responsible for this. So it's like everything was going on in my head at once. And next thing you know, after the diagnosis, I get a phone call, random number, and I'm ripping and running. They trying to catch me, get a hold of me. So I think I missed the call, and I finally decided to answer my phone. It was Miss Janice. I believe it was Miss Janice. And we're from the Rose. I mean, we're from Angels Surviving Cancer. The Rose told us about your diagnosis, and I was like, okay, sure, we can meet up and have lunch. And we talked about what it would look like going forward with them, and their process. It kind of felt like it happened really fast, but my illness was also speeding up on me as well.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of just me having to, because I guess I was getting assistance from the shelter. when I found out about my diagnosis, they had created a space for me to recover there.
Oh.
So it wasn't, okay, well, we're going to send you somewhere, or they said, you can stay here and recover here.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know how that was going to work, but there were a lot of accommodations for someone, because there was a patient before me in the shelter. And with it being domestic violence related, is completely, we can't really name the shelter, but it just became like a family thing. So I had support there, and then I had someone come in from the outside. So it felt real. It became real for me, because this was a disease that was going to eventually take me down, and that didn't click to me until once I started treatment. But it was a different, time in my life where it's like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
what do I do? And then my little kids, I think my daughter was maybe 6 or 7. My son was 3, 4. I had a lot going on in the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to figure out how to get access with everything else on the outside, because, it was a private shelter, so we couldn't really get what we needed. No one could really come there and
Right.
make,
So, yeah, you had to go out from there. And that was a safe space.
It was a safe space.
And after all that you'd been through, that had to be a real challenge just to even leave,
Yeah.
to even go out.
A month in, there was a house. They had a house for me. This is before I got diagnosed. And they ended up, it was all bills paid, maybe 2-bedroom. They ended up giving it to somebody else. So when I think back on it now, I feel like, God stepped in. I wanted that house. I wanted to leave. I wanted to, that wasn't what he wanted. He wanted me to be in a community. He wanted me to be in a position where I will for once, lean on him. So it wasn't going to get comfortable. It was going to be very uncomfortable.
Oh.
And I was uncomfortable until I realized, okay, let me just stay still. Let me stay here. Let me just work through, what I have to work through, because I can't really just, I don't want to put my family too much into it. Now, they will help me. They will help me when I really needed the help. It took me 6 months to get treatment. So June of 2017, that's when also when Angels Surviving Cancer, they celebrated me and the kids. So I became an honorary with them. Miss Marva was, with Miss Janice when we met. So she just kind of, they decided that she would be they decided she'd be the one to kind of help me out. I didn't know what that was gonna look like. It was a different experience, just having someone.
So for our listeners,
Yes.
and I have to share this story, Vanessa. When I met you, and of course we all were rooting for you, and you'd become a little bit of a celebrity around here because we couldn't imagine all that you were having to go through, then get a diagnosis of breast cancer. But I remember thinking, Vanessa's going to need a real miracle to get her all the way out of this. You were in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
And then the Angel Surviving Cancer came in. Our employee, Chris Noble, made the connection. But Janice is the executive director, right? She's over that program. And then you're assigned Angel. I mean, wouldn't we all love to have an angel when we're in a tough spot?
Absolutely.
Your assigned angel was Marva?
Yes.
Yes. So did she check on you daily, weekly, every now and then?
You know what? Miss Marva is, I really didn't understand it before. I'm like, she always called, and she just called to see how I was doing. I don't remember ever having anyone do that before, so I was like, okay. I'm in compliance with her. I didn't know that we were going to connect and become family. So next thing you know, I couldn't get to a doctor because the transportation, the shelter, there was some issues with me because like I said, it became aggressive, and I've seen more doctors than I would have liked to. So she took me my first appointment, and we just talked and hit it off instantly, and it was like like I said, like an angel just coming in and just and I'm like, you don't know me, I don't know you.
Right.
So we're getting to know each other. We're just, and I was a little, because I'm a shy at first, and I'm like, I don't do a lot of talking. And like I said, with this, that relationship was built. Just, it wasn't no pressure. She didn't make me do anything, or it was enforced, nothing like that. It was just like, instantly. And then next thing you know, my kids needed to go to the doctor, so she met them. Like I said, this was after the honorary, but they was like, okay, sit in the car. Like, okay, I don't know. They're used to, being transported somewhere, so I think to them that's what it was. And we started to see her more and more, and she just, she just stayed in touch. And then, I'm like, okay, I started calling her and needing advice. I needed a lot of advice because I did not have anyone teach me how to be a woman. I didn't have that.
Well, tell me more about that.
I learned a lot about how to navigate through life. My mother was in a position to teach me that, how to, just navigate and even the advice she's given me about my children and, the things that she's noticed about me and even the compliments about, how strong I am through all of this. I never really had anyone just come in and just step in, and she just stepped in like, she really stepped in like a parent. And so that was different for me. It was different because I learned about, I officially learned how to drive. Oh. I drove her van, her SUV, when I was wanting to get my license. And so, and I had my sister for that too, her and her husband, we worked on that. So I learned how to drive, doing that process. This is during treatment. I was learning how to drive so I can get my license. I was learning how to talk to people when I want something, how to advocate for myself. She always tell me, you gotta speak up. So
That's
I didn't.
Such good advice.
I didn't know, and I just became a little woman. Just learning how to, even though I was old enough and I had my kids, I still was trying to function as an adult and learn how to live in this life, and that things happen, but it's okay. You're gonna be okay because she saw the strength in me and the potential, and I wasn't sure I had that, so that's what she did for me and my children. They love her. my son, I want to see Marva. I want to see Marva. So they, we become like a real family, and I can call her. I even check on her, and I've offered to come, take her around if she need me to drive her somewhere. Things like that. We can laugh, we can joke together, we can just sit down and just talk, and not, we cried together, and she see me in my worst when I was really going through stuff. So that's what having her means to me. And because of that, I know how to have like real healthy relationships with my family, because I had to replenish those relationships because of the situation I was in before cancer. They didn't realize how extreme my illness was, and I had to communicate that to them. I had to repair relationships with them, so she helped me do that. I talked to my family about how I felt and actually be intentional. So God was in the midst of all of this, and He used her to get me where I am right now. And yeah,
Oh, Vanessa,
yeah.
that is so profoundly wise. I mean, look at all you know now. Many people go through life without ever having first a mentor
Yeah.
like you've had,
Yeah.
and second, just to realize that part of you that needed to do those things and had to have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
It's hard to make amends or replenish. I love that word.
Yes.
When it's your own family. I mean, that's hard. I know. I know. But you have now. You're not still in treatment. You're done with treatment.
Well, I'm not in treatment. I was able to. I stayed in shelter for 2 years, recovering. So I had my surgery there. I really. I know some women who was there for me there in shelter as well, who saw me. I wasn't sure I was really gonna make it at times because I was so sick. And then next thing you know, I'm feeling really good. So I took treatment really hard. I had a bad reaction to chemo, so they had to give me anesthesia before every dose. And sometimes I still have a reaction to it. There were times where I was ill because I kept getting bronchitis. Cause I was in shelter, and they wanted to keep me from getting sick, but it was impossible. I was sick all the time.
Your immune system's down. You've gone through so much anyway. There's,
It was hard to stay ill. There were times where I had treatment one time, and I knew I was sick, but I told myself I would go to treatment because I don't want to miss another doses, because sometimes I had to miss because my blood count kept going down. So they told me, I said, can you check my temperature? I knew I already knew because my body, I'm gotten used to knowing my body, and they said, you had 104 fever, and we cannot release you from we have to admit you. I'm in Pasadena. My kids is, they're not in this area.
Right.
And I had to promise them I would admit myself in another facility because I had to make arrangements for my kids. They mentioned when I called the shelter, I had to be there at a certain time because they were gonna call Child Protective Service. So I had to kind of sacrifice a lot I had to have them somewhere, and we were able to do that. But they had let me go because they took my word for it. My nurse was amazing. Bayshore Hospital, she did great. Would take care of me with chemo, and that was hard because I'm thinking to myself, this is not a normal situation to be in. I had to figure out ways I had to find people I can trust in shelter, and I had my sister who kept them for days at a time while I get admitted. And it's like, it wasn't a good time, but I went through that for 2 years, and I survived it. And then I got my place in 2018, and my second apartment, I had everything that every goal that I had when I was able to meet those goals. I still had to.
And how did you know to set up those goals? Was that,
I had a case manager
who
who
helped
was
with that?
also amazing. She really stayed, intact with me. We had to have that relationship, and they understood how serious my situation was. But I had to get up. Like if the longest I stay in bed is maybe 2 days,
Oh,
and then I just get up. So God said, "Hey, it's time to make some things happen." I've had to go out here and there, ill. We wrote these goals down. I did my part, and the case manager did her part, and we came together, and we were able to and like I said, when I needed something outside, I had Miss Marva to kind of help steer some of those goals as well. So I had a team of people. I didn't know this at the time. It didn't come to me that
No.
I had a village that I was
Yeah.
creating for myself. God was creating this village for me. He was letting me know who He wanted, who I could trust to come in and make me, first of all, get me healthy,
Right.
get me back
Right.
on my feet, and then also what would life look like when I left my other family, which is the shelter I was in, because I was there for so long. I've seen so much, bad and good. It was like I didn't know I couldn't even live life outside of that because I have my community here as well,
Right. Right.
and I've been able to do that since 2018. And I went to school and did some stuff but 2020, right when COVID hit, I couldn't use my certification to go to work. But and then because of COVID, and then next thing you know, I noticed something said check. I noticed a lump in my right breast, same breast, because I had a lumpectomy the first time. They were able to shrink it. They had to shrink it real small and remove that, and then that lump came back in the right on the right side in 2020 of
Oh, what a horrible time
yeah. So
to
I
have to
I
do
didn't think
anything.
it was possible, right?
Yeah.
Because of COVID, it took. Cause I noticed it in April. It took about a month or two to get to the doctor
Oh, yeah.
to schedule because they wasn't letting anyone come in, and if I hadn't been vigilant, who knows?
Again, being your own advocate,
Because I learned how to.
standing up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was learning how to
Asking.
do that. Yeah.
Right. So your treatment for that.
It was a short treatment, but we had emergency surgery in June of 2020, and then we did a couple of rounds of chemo, and it was different from the first time, but I was I was out and about, and I had to kind of, because I got used to kind of navigating and doing my own thing, but I still had Miss Marva. So she has sacrificed a lot. She's putting a lot of time. Doing things for me on my behalf. Because if I would do it myself. And she would tell me not to do that, especially after surgery. I was just used to. I didn't want her to do too much, but that's just who she is. She would go above and beyond to make sure that I didn't lift anything and do too much, that outside of the scope of my treatment. So that was it was a little hard because the side effects were different. It was just a different experience, and I thought about giving up at least once during that treatment, right? And it's not something. It's not because I have my kids. They're the only reason why I probably went through the whole thing. But because the side effects was kind of just a little bit extreme, and I had to, I still had to be a parent. I still had to provide, meals and things like that. Sometimes I didn't want to get out of bed. I still had to do that because I was out on my own, so it was a little bit. I think it was just maybe just like my mind. I was just probably just tired of the process of just treatments and doctors and surgeries, and I had a moment, and so I picked myself back up and said, you know what, you got 2 more treatments left, and just do what you have to do. You already went through the hard part, so. I was wondering why God, and I've been telling people the last couple of months, he's preparing me for something, and this is one of them. So when, I don't know how I don't know.
Oh, Vanessa, your story will inspire anyone. I mean, seriously, even saying there was a time you were ready to give up.
Yeah.
You have such a road ahead of you. And I know so many people are going to benefit just from hearing your story and all the things that you faced. But we are so delighted that you have come back to us and in this way to help us tell women the things that they need to hear that are hard, and the things you can go through that really do require some help. Right. Even when you're used to doing it all by yourself. Yeah. So thank you for being with us today. So appreciate. I think we're going to have you back because I want to know where you are in a couple of other years. That would be great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Sure, I really appreciate it. Yeah. And I hope God gets the glory because.
Where it belongs.
Yeah, he created a miracle in me, and there were people who witnessed the miracle, and that's why I'm here. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.